Today I'm going to be reviewing a book that's been very inspiring from me from an author who's been even more inspiring. It is The Vision-Driven Leader by Michael Hyatt. And a little bit of the background is that I've been an entrepreneur, a business owner, self-employed, working with all kinds of different projects, some very successful, some less successful, pretty much my entire life. I think I had my first kind of business when I was about 14, 15 years old, helping people with fixing their computers and teaching them how to use them. And I've been doing all kinds of different stuff ever since that. And when I look back over my life, I'm now 42 years old, then for a long time, then I think my primary goals was really earning a lot of money, doing work that felt important, that I could be proud about, telling other people, maybe even increasing my status or something like that. So doing meaningful work, at least, I would be the positive way of formulating it for sure. Addressing the challenges that we're facing and that are important for society, and of course stuff that I'm interested in as well. But also, certainly there was a lot of kind of like selfish self-aggrandizements there or something like that as well. So as I got older and started going into my 30s especially, then I realized a need for deepening my approach to my work and to be able to connect, to find something more meaningful as well and not so selfishly orientated. And so one of the things that happened is I converted to Christianity. And, in those first couple of years, I'd say that even though I started developing a deeper spiritual understanding of myself and life, I didn't really, it didn't really impact my work in a deep and fundamental way as such. And so it was only really when I converted to the Orthodox Christian faith that things really shifted for me in a fundamental way. And I realized that I really needed a new and deeper approach to my work and to my business. And looking around, it was difficult to find inspiration and role models of how to do that. There's not a lot of Orthodox saints that are businessmen, I can tell you. But I can tell you as well that Michael Hyatt has been one of those people that's really been a good light for me and helped me to understand this a lot. And so this book here is really for leaders. He also has written a book that I've read called Freedom to Focus, which is broader, more foundational, and addressed to just anybody basically looking to understand their work, not specifically for Orthodox Christians or even Christians in general. Michael Hyatt is a New York Times and Wall Street Journal best-selling #1 author, very, very widely read throughout the world, and you certainly don't need to be a Christian at all to appreciate and understand and get a lot of value from his work. And so what I would say, Michael Hyatt, what does he do well? He's really an excellent example of a man who can cut things down to the simple, clear basics and focus on that and communicate it in a very, very simple, clear way. So in a time when we're seeing a lot of crowding in on this whole business development, self-help field and stuff like that, then it's really just great to take up a book. It's very fast and easy to read. You don't have to sit and study and focus a lot to read this stuff. You can really just pick it up and read it very quickly and easily, and it just helps you to get clear on the simple, most basic stuff. And so a little bit of background as well as Michael Hyatt. He has been the CEO of Nelson Publishing and also was there when they released the Orthodox Study Bible, which is something that I actually happen to have just right here on my table. This is really a work of importance and it must have been a massive work to put this together. So that's something that I think will go down for me certainly as a very, very large and important work that happened. And so the book, The Vision-Driven Leader, is centered around 10 questions. And so that's why I'm just going to go through those 10 questions here. And the first two really cover the kind of why part of vision. So the first question asks, or maybe it's the what and the why, because the first question covers, are you a leader or a manager? And really looks at this difference between, what we think is leadership a lot of the time is actually just management, whereas the leader is a person who's actually taking some people somewhere. He's leading them somewhere to a destination. And so this is really the importance of vision and the need to have vision to be able to become a leader, and something that we need to do in every aspect of our life, but especially in business as well. And then the next chapter perhaps covers the why very much by saying, what difference does vision make? So he really is very good at illustrating why the necessity of vision. The rest of the book is really the how. So it starts with probably the most central chapter in the entire book, and the one that you'll use on a very practical level is chapter 3, which is, what do you want? And so it's a simple set of questions to help you focus on how is it that you actually focus a clear vision for yourself. What is it that you would actually like to achieve? He looks at focusing on a vision, anything from 2 to 3 years out in the future up to, optimally 10, 15, 20 years in the future. And then from there, the next chapters go into sharpening that vision. So he asks them, it's about, is it clear? Does it inspire? Is it practical? And then last of all, can you sell it? Which is about enrolling the people on your team into it as well. And so these are ways of just sharpening and getting clearer and making it better, the vision that you're able to create from that chapter 3. And then the last 3 chapters of the book are then focused on kind of the more forward-looking, taking these things into the future. So the first one is, how should you face resistance? The next question is it too late? Which is to deal with how, companies, that you need to formulate a vision and how it can develop and grow, or needs to develop and grow. It's not a one-off thing that you need to do. And then finally, are you ready to take this out into the future? And so the last little thing I wanted to share in this review here was, in one of those last chapters, then there was a story about Satya Nadella, who was the CEO of Microsoft. All of the chapters are really structured in this way that he takes some stories from mainstream business and well-known business leaders and uses them to illustrate the different points that he has. And it's a very powerful way of telling stories to be able to get his points across, and then having very clear points and illustrations afterwards. But this particular story of Satya Nadella and Microsoft, it kind of struck me in a way, because I've actually worked for Microsoft for 7 or 8 years, both internally and also as a consultant for them with my own business. And I'm not a big fan of Satya Nadella at all, especially when it comes to his approach to AI ethics, but for several different reasons. And what it kind of made me realize is that, I had been allowing some of my judgment of his character to block out me from receiving some good inspiration of good things that he has done. Obviously, the story here was used to illustrate how Satya Nadella had been able to take a company that was on its way to zombie land and revive it and unify the employees and give them a mission and a vision to be able to center themselves around and to be able to drive them forward as well. And it reminded me how the church fathers in the Orthodox faith, of course, also took all the various parts of paganism that were good and valuable and that could help to create deeper understanding and to bring people together, and incorporated those into the Christian faith. And then, of course, anything that was opposed to Christ, to love, to goodness, that was rejected and helped out, and so there was no kind of contradiction between these two things. And so how, in our kind of Puritan approach to life and existence, sometimes we kind of trying so hard to make sure we keep everything away that we don't like, that we actually end up rejecting a lot of good stuff, throwing the baby out with the bathwater. This was one of the central lessons that I've had from reading Michael Hyatt, who's really been able to take, he's not going out and evangelizing for Christianity, but he's an incredibly beautiful testimony for a way of life which is looking to bring about the establishment of the kingdom of God on earth with a very successful business career that's really creating a lot of value and goodness for CEOs and businessmen and business leaders in creating more clarity in their life. And so if there's one thing to sum up what I've got from Michael Hyatt in this work and also in Freedom to Focus, is about the need for creating space, for stepping back from one's work and being able to gain a vision and understanding of what's important, and then be able to set aside time to focus on what's important, not running around and trying to put out fires all the time, but be able to do the simple, clear steps that are needed and trusting in the process of that happening, and being able to help other people to do the same thing as well, being able to unify people around a team. And so, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business person, and especially if you're a Christian leader, then I really, really recommend that you get this book and do it. And especially if you need to also transition. One of the things that's happened for me is that I've realized for a long time, I've kind of been more of a self-employed person who's been working for myself, but doing all the work myself. And part of what Michael Hyatt's helped with as well is transitioning more to become a business owner, a business leader who's not doing all the work himself, but more looking at how is it that I'm helping to optimize processes and strategies that things can be put together in an optimal way. So hope you found that useful and enjoyable, and I hope to be putting out a little bit more information soon on this channel about Michael Hyatt and his work, and as well as other good business leaders and entrepreneur kind of inspirations that have been useful for me. There's been a lot of them. A lot of that's what this bookshelf is about. So watch out for that coming soon. Okay, thanks.